Hello everyone, and welcome back to the FITTSGH Azure Fundamentals Masterclass. Over the past several lessons, we have covered some of the most important concepts in Azure Networking and Azure Compute. Together, we have built a complete Azure environment from the ground up. We started by creating resource group to organize our resources. We then created virtual networks to allow Azure resources to communicate. We learn about address spaces and CIDR notation, helping us understand how Azure networks are structured. We divided our networks into subnets to improve organization and security. We explored network security groups and learned how Azure controls and filters network traffic. We then deployed virtual machining to our Azure environment and saw how networking, security, and compute services work together. Finally, we tested communication and walked through a complete Azure environment to see how all the pieces fit together. Now, before we move on to new Azure services like storage, identity, and governance, it is important that we reinforce what we have learned, because passing the AZ-900 exam is not about memorizing definitions. It is about understanding how Microsoft presents real-world scenarios and knowing which Azure service best solves a particular problem. Today's lesson is designed to help you think like the exam. We'll work through a series of Microsoft-style questions based on the concepts we have covered so far. Some questions will obviously be straightforward, some will require careful thinking, and some may challenge what you think you already know. Don't worry if you don't get every question right. The goal is learning, reinforcing, and building confidence. By the end of this lesson, you should feel much more comfortable with Azure Networking and Compute concepts and be better prepared for both the AZ-900 exam and real-world cloud discussions. So grab a pen and a paper, pause the video when necessary, and try to answer each question before we discuss the solution. Remember, understand first, practice second, master both. Let's begin our Azure Networking and Compute Reinforcement Lab. So lesson 19 is all about reinforcing what we've done. And we've basically gone through resource groups, virtual networks, address spaces, CIDR notation, subnet, network security groups, virtual machines, public versus private IPs, connectivity testing, and a complete Azure environment walkthrough. So we're basically going to reinforce what we've done. And why does this matter? Because learning happens through repetition, and today's lesson will help you identify knowledge gaps, build exam confidence, strengthen Azure understanding, and think like the AZ-900 exam. So let's look at our first question. So I'm going to encourage you to pause before resuming to check the correct answer. FIT wants to organize all Azure resources used for a training platform. Which Azure service should be used? Is it a virtual network? Is it a resource group? Is it a network security group? Or is it a virtual machine? So if you're organizing stuff on your personal computer, I believe you create folders and you put stuff in there. So I want you to think along those lines. So the correct answer here is what? Resource group. So if you did not get that right, then that is the rationale behind that. Question number 2. FIT wants Azure resources to communicate privately with one another. So which Azure service should be used? Is it the Azure Monitor? Is it a virtual network? Is it the Azure DNS? Or is it the Azure Storage? So what is the answer? If you are thinking virtual network, then you are right. Right. Move on to question number 3. Which Azure component divides a virtual network into smaller sections? So we've got our LAN, or a layout of our entire address space, but we want to break it down into smaller sections. So what do we use? Is it a resource group, an NSG, a subnet, or a virtual machine? Pause for a second. If you're thinking it's C, subnet, then you are right. Well done. Keep going. Question number 4. FIT wants to block unauthorized traffic from reaching its service. So you're looking at traffic getting to the service. So which Azure service should be used? Is it a resource group, a VNet, an NSG, or Azure Advisor? If you're thinking NSG, then you are right. Good. Question number 5. FIT wants to run a Windows server in Azure. Which service should be deployed? Is it Azure Storage, Azure DNS, Azure Virtual Machine, or Azure Monitor? We want to deploy a DNS. We want to deploy a Windows server. So it is about Windows Server, and if you're thinking this answer, that is Azure Virtual Machine, then you are 100% right, because that is what we did in our previous lesson practically. Good. Question number 6. What is the primary purpose of a public IP address? So you've got a private IP and a public IP. What is that? Is it for internal communication, internet accessibility, data storage, or monitoring? So if you're thinking internet accessibility, then you are right. Question number 7. A private IP address is primarily used for internet access, internal network communication, Azure building, and DNS resolution. So if you're thinking the answer is internal network communication, then you are also right. So 7 out of 7. That's good. Well done. Question number 8. FIT created a VNet with an address space of 10.0.0.0/16. What does the /16 indicate? Is it a VM size? Is it the network size? Is it a region? Or is it a storage type? So if you're thinking the answer to be network size, then you are also right. Well done. Question number 9. Which Azure component filters inbound and outbound traffic? Is it a VNet? Is it a resource group? Is it an NSG or a VM? We're talking about traffic, inbound, outbound, security. So if you're thinking NSG, then you are 100% right. Okay. So let's look at question number 10. Where can an NSG be associated? Is it resource groups only, storage account only, subnet or VM? And region only, where can we associate it? So that was a subnet or a virtual machine. Question number 11. FIT cannot connect to a virtual machine remotely. Which component should be checked first? Is it the storage account, NSG, resource group, Azure cost management? So if you cannot connect, then we need to check our NSG. Question number 12. Which Azure component acts as the computer in the cloud? So if you're thinking VNet, NSG, VM, resource group, then what is that? So if you're thinking it's VM, then you are 100% right. Then question number 13, which sequence correctly represents the Azure environment we built? Is it VM, NSG, VNet? Sequence, no. Resource group, VNet, subnet, NSG, VM. Storage, VM, NSG, resource group, VM, storage. So resource group, VNet, subnet, NSG, then you have your VM. Perfect. Question number 14. Why do organizations use subnets to create storage, to divide networks into smaller sections, to create users, to monitor costs? So the B here is to what? Divide networks into smaller sections. And question number 15, FIT wants to deploy resources while maintaining organization networking, security, and compute services. Which Azure architecture best supports this? Resource group, VNet, subnet, NSG, VM, VM, resource group, NSG, NSG, storage, VM, resource group, storage only. So if you're thinking, the answer is A, resource group, VNet, a subnet, NSG, and VM. So That's about it. So what have we reinforced today? We looked at resource groups, we looked at VNets, we looked at Subnet, we looked at NSGs, and we've also looked at what virtual machines, public and private IPs, and Azure connectivity. So well done, and you've done an amazing job sticking with me and going through the questions. So I'll see you in my next lesson. God bless. And if you've not subscribed, please do. If you've not commented or shared, just do that. I'm all in the business of helping you improve the way you use the IT tools for your work. God bless.